Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. It's Monday. Grumpy is back because it's freaking Monday, and Mateusz is back as well. The Polish Prince is in the house. What's going on?
In the house with some fresh coffee, no more tea because I might still be a little congested, but overall, I feel like we're both feeling much better than we were last week. That's for sure.
Yes, that has gone away. And honestly, I never fell to the tea throughout the week for some reason. A couple of times, usually the lemon honey tea concept usually does it. That Earl Grey nastiness that you were doing, that's not tea, my friends.
You have to put a little bit of, okay, just one time for me. What you want to do, get some Earl Grey tea, put a little honey in there, put a little milk in there, like almond milk is what we have here. And it's fantastic. I promise you. I promise you. Not oat milk, it's almond milk.
Yeah, to be funny, I mean, I'm making fun, but thanks to Layla, there's I think like 65 different types of milk. Milk from things you didn't know you could milk, kind of in the refrigerator. You're like, that has milk, kind of a stuff. So, Alice with us, good morning. Hot and steamy Houston. Not too shabby here, actually. The weekend was kind of rough in Chicago,
Yeah.
but not too shabby. When I let the dogs out, I did not have to like run back inside. So that's always a good sign first thing in the morning. Okay, a lot of news to get to. So we'll start with our boys. Didn't get your take on this whole ordeal. Fabinho deal sounds like it's a lot more done. I know there was some stuff going on about how much of the money is up front. They have the money to pay the money up front, the 40 and stuff. But him not being in camp alone pretty much says this deal is done, right?
It's a lot, yeah. Because when they were about to leave for camp, we had an agreement between Hendo and the club, whereas there was no specific agreement from Fabinho and the club. It was just something that had just come out saying that there is an attraction for Fabinho from this club. We're going to spend X amount, let's say 40 million, was what they were talking about. But the fact that Hendo still went to training camp and Fabinho did it is really weird in my eyes, to be honest. Because when you have one player who has an agreement with a club and another player who doesn't, there's no really concrete agreement there that we know of. But the one without any agreement isn't going to the training camp, but the one with the agreement is going to the training camp.
Oh, I was under the impression that, they also, like, Fabinho's set. Like, he's cool with it. But with Hendo, we were not cool with it yet. And with Fabinho, we were. But then I know over the weekend there were some sayings about they might not have the money up front. I don't know how. I mean, first of all, they came with the offer initially and stuff. I think it's almost like with Hendo, we had the upper hand, and we're like, nope, you're not getting it for free. I don't know if they thought they were gonna go get for free, but with Fab, it sounds like they were like, oh, we already got him, so now they're kind of negotiating. We're like, we said 40, but how about 20 first?
I guess that's fair. Yeah, it's like it's when you want to buy something and you really don't think that person's going to sell that thing that you want, and you just like, yeah, I'll give you $40 for it, and they're like, okay, go ahead, and then you're like, wait a minute, I actually might not have that 40 that I just talked about. I wasn't sure you were gonna bite, so give me a moment. Let me go back to my car. Let me go into the couch. Let me kind of go through the cushion, see if I can come up with the extra bit, and come back to you.
Is it that, or is it like they were like, they were like, well, like a certain amounts, and then we'll see what they say. They said 40. We're like, yeah. They were like, oh shit, like I didn't think you guys were gonna say yes to that. But then you would think they would have the 40 ready to go if they were ready to increase their offer, or if they were just throwing it out there. Is it just me that I feel the Hendo deal? I feel more hurt over. I think, and I do think it affects us more than everything else. Ryan says, "Good morning. Had to blow a goat to get a Wi-Fi password from the coffee shop."
Just saw that from the corner of my eye, and I was like, yeah.
There's so many questions to go with that.
I only have one question. What was the Wi-Fi password?
So that you don't have to blow the goat as well. Let's skip the middleman. Okay, so, but with Fabinho, going back to that, it sounds like I'm totally cool with this. I mean, I think it eliminates the risk for us. I know everybody is like, if we're getting somebody, Brew guest one, by the way. Yeah, and then Chris says, "Why does it cut?" That was only one of my questions.
For the milk, obviously.
To blow so you can get a password, obviously, is my thing. But is it with Fabinho? It feels like I know everybody's like, oh, the replacement and everything like that. But weren't we already? I mean, we talked about it before. We talked about it in the Monday podcast. We talked about other shows where we were kind of not sure which Fabinho we were going to get back anyway. So there was already some risk associated with it. We didn't know if it was a tired Fabinho, if it was a Fabinho that's over the age now and it's never going to come back. So regardless, getting Young there and getting another player sounds like an even trade, right?
Yeah, I think over the course of a lot of last season, there were a good amount of supporters are like, we're just done with this Fabinho thing anyway. And so back to Galley's point here, if you can get nearly 40 million, it makes a lot of sense for both of the club and the player. I think Fabinho in his time here was obviously absolutely pivotal to the titles. He was amazing on his day. But over this last year specifically with how much of a downgrade he's had, it's tough to think, even if let's say that he recovers a bit of his form from before, like how much of that form does he need to recover to justify not getting 40 million for him?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of a weird thing that you can't quantify, because I guess you'll never know. But unless he stays, and I guess we'll see what we could get out of him. But yeah, it's something that I think Klopp we've seen that he's might be turning a new leaf and kind of ready to move away from some of these guys that he coveted so well, and ready for this new regime, so to speak. So yeah, it's and like you were saying, it's not as hurtful, because with Fabinho, I feel like a lot of us were at peace with him maybe having his last season last year. I think people were talking about him leaving the next summer and getting something for him. I don't think that's why. So I think that's why it doesn't hurt as much. And that's what I got.
So let me ask you this, because I just thought about this as we were talking. If we sold Fab before last season, so like last summer, let's say, how much would he be worth?
I don't think you,
because
maybe 50 to 60
would not be there. So bear in mind you're selling into like Spain or somewhere there. How much did you say?
50 to 60. I think it would have been my guess. Which
I think so too.
Which over then how poorly he played last year, to still get 40 out of him, I think is a pretty good deal.
Exactly. Yeah, we totally agree on that. Yes, because I was thinking around 60 is what you would get at peak Fab, going to like a Real or Barcelona or something like that. I think you would get the 50 to 60 at the time. So getting 40 for him now is pretty darn good deal, because of the risk associated with which Fab is going to come back. And Gally, I think, was saying in the comments that he's looking to cash in because maybe he knows he's not going to get back to his best. I think in like Fab's case, that's probably part of it. And like I say, I don't have the same thing that I have with Hendo, with people like Fab and Bobby and stuff like that. Bobby's contract was up anyway, but with these players, I feel like him looking to cash in after having won everything under the sun, I don't have as much of a problem with. I don't expect him to be loyal to Liverpool and the concept moving further. I mean, from Brazil to France to here and stuff like that, that's fine. So what are we beaking at? Because my eyesight sucks.
Obviously, this is current market value at a specific time in his career. This isn't to say that a team would spend X for him. It's just transfer market has these current market values. So at his peak at Liverpool, 70 million is what it was at. Over the last couple of years, he's hovering in that 60 range. So you would think that maybe, club could either spend, I would say, anywhere from 50 to 70, because I feel like a club can overspend a little bit on the value or underspend a little bit. So that's why I think 50 to 60 would have been fair, considering he was 27, 28 years old. That's still not that old, right? Yeah. So, and then now we've seen the little dip that's popped down to 42. So that's kind of, it hasn't been, I don't think this drop off was definitely a lot more severe. But for a while it was pretty consistent.
Yeah, I feel like he's not, I mean, his age is not as big of a concern. Like if I'm a club bringing Fabinho in, the age is not as much of a concern for me, bearing in mind his position and how he plays. But I'd be more worried about the recent form. But here's the thing. It really depends on how the team they're who's taking him is going to play. If they're not going to, like, our system leaves a lot to him, and exposes him probably a lot more than most defensive midfielders in their system would be, because you're pressing so high and your line is so high. Your defensive midfielders higher than where they normally would be, and they have a lot more responsibility to clean up the counter before it starts, kind of a deal. Whereas I feel like a lot of more defensive midfielders get more cover and more space, and probably are backed up a bit more too. So it's a lot easier for him to get, and that could be one of the reasons, like knowing that he can get another 3-4 seasons out. And I feel like, especially most of these Brazilian players, at the end, they can be like, one last trip, let me go back to my hometown club and they get one last contract there when they're 33, 34, and then call it a day. I mean, you kind of see that same crap happen with a lot of leagues, like Turkish league, Greek league, where they come back at the very end, where it all started. Like, we were, when Arda Güler went to Real, we were like, well, we'll see him in like 12 years or so when he's like 30, 32 or something like that. So
I don't know. I think he'll still be playing pretty high level at 30, 32, I think.
I hope so for his
I think you might see him for another 20 years back in Turkey, to be honest.
He could be. Hey, we just signed Zeko, so you never know. Yeah, Ryan says sell him. I do agree with that. Where are you with the Hendo ordeal? So I think I heard Anan actually was, so he has some Arabic insight to some of those Twitter feeds that we don't, obviously. So he was saying that the news coming out of Saudi Arabia was that Hendo was willing to take not a bazillion, gazillion dollars a week, just a gazillion, just one gazillion instead, so that they can use the bazillion to cover the fees.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be something, obviously, they're putting out that, like, Hendo really wants to come over here kind of thing. Chris says if Hendo was gone, he thinks he'd be gone. Do you agree? Because I'm getting the same sense, but mine might be optimism at this stage.
Yeah, it's tough. I too feel like if he was going, he'd be gone. It's just one of those moments right now where the club want to get as much for him as they want to, and that's perfectly fair. I think, given his service to the club, given where he's at, given his contract, like it makes sense to get a little bit more than what they're being offered right now. I just think on a personal level, it'll still hurt whether or not he goes, because there was always that moment of that decision of, yeah, let's pick up and go over there and make X amount of money because this X amount of money isn't enough technically. And then it's always going to be difficult trying to sit here and talk about how we think we would respond in these situations, or talk about how we think these players should respond. I think at the end of the day, we can only see what they show us through the public eye, or through what they post, through what they do. And having someone who's been such a civil servant of the people, of a specific people, and then kind of turn his back on those people because of money, it just really sours his image overall. And I'm not trying to be like the big social justice warrior here and try to sit on a throne.
You are the big social justice warrior.
I'm not, no, but
turn up to your role, Polish friend.
Yeah, it's really ironic right there, being having a royal name, but being a civil servant of the social justice realm.
It's all about image,
right? It's what I exude. So I think overall, it does sour his perception for me, and I think people are saying, but it's 4 or 5 times the amount of money he's making, but it's not like he's making pennies right now. Like his family's already set up pretty well. It's just a matter of it really is just a money thing, I think. And when it comes down to it, maybe it's a slight ego thing because Klopp told him that he's not going to have many minutes, and maybe he does want to play. But I think there's other ways to find that playing time without kind of selling out what you've stood for the last 10 years and what you've championed and what you've said to the world who you are, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think on Friday morning show, I put my bid in to be his PR, and the statement that he could come out with once this is over and he's staying. to cover it up. I can't really believe Galley falls for this. That his training images haven't been great, because I saw a couple of those photos. I was like, get the hell out of here. Like, images that had probably Hendo is really committed and focused on the next season. They were like deleting the underneath, and they were like, Hendo is not smiling. This kind of reminded me of Mane is not smiling when most scores kind of headline stuff. So they were finding images of Hendo not smiling during practice, because I'm assuming those grueling practices are like a huge laugh for players.
I don't know. Cody's always smiling in every
Cody's
single
always
picture.
smiling. Yeah, it's just I don't know what he smokes before practices, but yeah, Cody is always happy somehow. And yeah, like we were talking about before the show, every time I see Cody in any situation, the only thing I can always think of is like, God damn, this kid is huge. Like, he is so freaking tall. He towers over everyone. It's like ridiculous.
We were looking at this picture here with these three guys, and it's good to see this. This is a fun sight, right? You know, there's some happy things to talk about. This is a happy thing.
Not seen on the picture is Hendo pouting in the right top corner. That's been cropped out. Yeah.
And there it goes.
Not seen in the picture is McAllister crying in the middle.
And that's why he's being consoled, because he's in tears. And Soboslai's like, "You're just a fucking baby. Why are you crying?" I'm the captain now. You can stop crying.
Media. We can like seen here McAllister being bullied by Gakpo and Soboslai.
and this is how the wildfire spreads.
Yeah, if something comes up, save this picture. So if something negative comes up with McAllister not being happy, we can just use this and say, he's pouting. He's being okay. So let's go about selling up, people making bazillion. Worst kept secrets, finally official, is Messi coming here. I actually saw that his first official game, but I don't know if that means like he's going to play or he's going to be in the vicinity, is the 21st.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know how much camp he has to do to get going over here. He can probably waltz in the last 15 minutes or whatever, but I kind of like expected that more out. But did he do the best move and the smartest move possible, by the way? As he's like coming to US, he sees all these planes going the other way. He was like, yep, this was a great move because I'm the only one coming this way.
I think time will tell, given the extent of what the terms of his negotiations were for coming to Miami, and what he could possibly receive from the MLS over the course of the next 5, 10, 15 years. Kind of like David Beckham when he came over, and he was told, at some point, if you want to buy a club, like, you will have the right to own a club, and then goes out, owns Inter Miami, and then is able to bring the greatest football player in history to come to the U.S. And to Ryan's point here, I think it is the best thing to have ever happened to professional American soccer until they decide to put in promotion relegation. This is the best thing that has ever happened. I think from a league standpoint, it's going to get people excited here, especially right before the 2026 World Cup being hosted between here, Canada, and Mexico. The timing is perfect, I think. And it's just the only thing that's not so perfect is that his team is absolutely trash. They're in last place. But I guess if he's able to go there and will them into the playoffs, and have a couple calls go his way, this could become one of the greatest stories in the MLS as well, to the kind of a icing on the cake situation.
I don't know, it would be a Cinderella story, but it would be a good story, yeah.
Yeah, when you get Sergio Busquets to also come over, and you got Messi, and then you've got Jordi Alba maybe coming over, like, oh yeah, who are these pub guys that we just got from down the street? They're pretty good, huh?
Such an underdog story.
The greatest of all time takes the worst ever to the top.
So let me ask you that, though. Do you think that plays a huge part in how successful this experiment is? In terms of how the team does?
No, I think how successful what we view as success won't be so easily quantified. I think it's based on what happens to the sport in general over the next decade. I think that's how we look back and see how successful this was. I don't care if he's able to play at Inter Miami for a year or two and able to get them into the playoffs or do whatever. I think that's all going to be forgotten about. Not forgotten about, just like no one ever remembers it. But if the impact on the sport is great enough, let me scratch what I just said. It will not be forgotten about, because if the impact on the sport is great enough, it's going to be they're going to look back at this time of, this is the time when Messi came over and like rejuvenated the spirit of the sport in this country and was able to inspire so many kids to play this sport. And then now the US has this fantastic team in like World Cup 2032 or whatever, and they're playing for, they're playing in the semifinal for the first time in decades.
Like these kids grew up watching Messi play for Inter, kind of thing you're trying to sell us here?
Like, yeah, I mean, they maybe have no concept of the sport until Messi came over, like, why is this such a big deal kind of thing, and then all of a sudden it kind of clicks. Maybe. I'm excited for the potential effect this has on the general population of people in this country who aren't necessarily fans of the sport, but they're not closed off to it.
Okay, that's fair.
And I think that could then be passed down to their kids, because this might be for like the 18 to 25-year-olds right now who are kind of too late to decide to go, hey, I want to go play for the U.S. national team. But for their kids potentially, I don't know. I feel like it's an exciting prospect of just the future of this sport here.
Yeah, I mean, it is huge in terms of who brings, but I guess my concern is, did he come at the same time while he's going the other direction? This is what I was thinking about earlier. Ryan says he will actually watch 5 more Major League Soccer games this year. So I don't know, we went from 0 to 5 or like 10 to 15.
1 to 6.
Only the GOAT knows, yeah. But him coming now, normally, right, if you take Saudi Arabia out of the equation and say that never happened, we're just moving as, previously scheduled programming is how we're going, would have brought probably a lot more players to follow him this way. Because of the Saudi Arabia league and all that money being spent over there now, you think kind of like really affects the progress that he would have brought, because the money is over there now, and a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, that's great, getting Major League Soccer bigger, but they're paying me $700 a week over here.
Yeah, probably.
So it's so the impact would be, what do you think, like 20% of what it would be? Because you would think people would follow all these big names coming here, even if it is the same concept as the Saudi Arabia League, like age players who are not their prime.
I think if we really wanted to see a big change there, the model of the MLS would have to change, because right now, because of the salary, the rules behind everything, and having the designated player rules, it really limits being able to bring in a lot of big names over, because you're only able to pay 1 or 2 guys X amount of money.
Yeah.
So if you have those restrictions in place, it's really difficult to convince other people to come in and get paid, what the guy that's been playing in MLS for the last 7 years is being paid, while you were off in Europe, winning titles or whatever the case might be. I don't know how the fuck Inter Miami is able to get Messi and Busquets on board monetarily. So, and I don't know how that's going to look structurally with the salary situation and the designated player situation.
Isn't there something goofy with Messi, by the way, where it's almost like everybody is paying for Messi?
Yeah, I think there's a chunk of money that each team was willing to put in, because they understand the impact that he has on the brand and on the league overall. We talked about this with tickets skyrocketing the moment that the news broke. And they can realize how big of an economic, performance or economic
impact
this has. Yes, thank you. Yeah, this was the economic impact we've all been waiting for. Like this guy's going to revitalize the economy, kind of thing. Like they all pulled their money and got, okay, this might be the good thing here.
You got to spend money to make money. I mean, I guess in some ways, like I said, that's why I feel like the Saudi Arabia things comes in a really bad time in terms of that, because I think it would really help bring a lot more to follow this way. Because I think, like Gala was saying earlier, I mean, Miami to Saudi Arabia, in terms of like living, bringing your family and stuff like that, obviously you're bringing them into a better situation. Even though we were talking about how some of these guys probably, especially with this many players going there, have their like own mini cities at this rate. to live in and stuff like that. But yeah, it's odd because you still see there are certain players still who want to stay in Europe, and that's the only way, like lower league teams can actually still sign experienced player, whether it's the, in Portugal, Greece, Turkey, and stuff like that. Um, like Zeko and Tadic and stuff like that, for example, just went to Fenerbahce, Angelino and stuff like that went to Galatasaray. So there are like people that can still like keep, but I feel like the influx is going to be. This is a big year for the Saudi Arabian League, probably in terms of like how it unfolds moving forward. I mean, obviously, how the money stacks up and stays is another one, but that probably depends on how this team. I don't think like gates and stuff like that, like how many people are at the games, really affects it as much for the bottom line. These people are not giving 700,000 to Hendo as a business investment in terms of like, oh, Hendo will sell so many tickets, we'll get the money back, kind of a deal. I think it's part of like a bigger and longer ordeal, but it should be interesting to see. I mean, Ryan is right. I will probably end up watching some Major League Soccer games that I normally would not watch. There are times where I turn on the TV, like we're preparing dinner or something like that, and like the default is like finding something soccer, and if it's Major League Soccer, like it'll be on. But I might actually kind of like, as I'm scrolling now, sitting down watching TV, I might be like, they're on, and I might watch it. So if nothing else, to see how it's impacted, how he plays and stuff like that. So Ryan says, I can totally see the Major League being Western Saudi League. Obviously not the same money, but could be done in a more pure way. Here's my thing. Do you think for a player, though, given the same money, and I did explain that, obviously it's a lot better environments, schooling wise and stuff like that, probably to bring your kids into. I mean, we already talked about some of like the legal stuff and all that. But do you think going to a country where soccer is the biggest thing, sometimes bigger to a player than going somewhere where soccer is a bit more low key? Like we were talking about, I think Kazi was telling me a story about the earth about like, Gerard when he was in LA, he could do whatever the hell he wanted. Nobody knows.
And I think that's where I was going to head toward is I think if you want to give your family some sort of semblance of what a normal life could be, going to a country that doesn't care about the sport at all and doesn't recognize you could be the best thing for that, because they're able to go out in public and not be hounded and actually feel like just like every other family that's walking by. No one's coming up to take pictures. I think I saw a picture of Messi at a Publix, like a grocery cart full of, I think I saw Reese's Puffs, Lucky Charms, lots of cereal. I don't know what it was.
Champions breakfast, as you can tell.
Yeah, I think for the kids, obviously.
I wanted to see what kind of milk he had.
I thought it was almond milk, but it happened to be just like a sign on the front of the cart. I got fooled so bad. I thought it was in the cart, but it was just smack dab on the cart itself. So it kind of, because if you don't know who this guy is, it's this like 5'7" dude with a bunch of tattoos. Like an old person might look at him and go, "What a fucking degenerate! Like, what has this person ever done for society?" Especially in Florida. Like you have all the retirees down there going, "The fuck is this guy?" Whereas if he was to go anywhere else, now maybe not anywhere else, but because there were a couple people in the grocery store who knew who he was, so they took some selfies or whatever. But for the most part, they were able to walk around and not be completely crowded all the time, which I think could be a really nice thing and a nice escape for, I don't know how long you'd want that escape for, but that's a purely personal decision, I think. And it's whatever you think is best for your family.
And it's one of those things, right? Like you might be like, yes, this is what I want. And afterwards, your ego might miss being recognized and praised every goddamn place you go to. I don't know how that works. And here's the thing, we're comparing like Messi, and it's almost like, I don't know, like LeBron. Like you might, anybody in the world who might not even follow NBA can see LeBron and be like, that's LeBron. Not to mention he'd be huge, and you'd be like, holy shit, who's that guy? And be like, it's LeBron. But, like a recognizable face, even if you're not following the sport, I think. And mind you, Miami is I mean, I think he would get away with probably a lot more in Nebraska or somewhere than he
Yeah,
will in Miami. So,
yeah.
but I think that's going to be interesting to see which way, if the Saudi League stays around the way it is and they continue to spend the way it is. And you would think they would keep going this route at least a couple of seasons to reach their goal, whatever that goal might end up being. It's going to be interesting to see who still takes the plane coming over this way as opposed to the other way. So we shall see. It's going to be an interesting season. Like I say, I will definitely be watching a game here and there as well. So this
I mean,
is
the just so you know, the season has been going on
oh
since
yes,
since
yes.
March.
So I've
Like
been told.
they're
So
24 games in, by the way. You know, the season is on, and that's why, like your point, they have a game on the 21st. Yes, because it's the middle of the season.
no, I was more like holy shit, like 4 days into coming. No, that was my. I know this. I follow it that much. Oh, I don't follow it that much. I saw Shakira's goal the other day. I
It
don't
was a
follow it, but
banger,
I
by
knew
the
it
way.
was going on.
Yeah.
It was more about. I was shocked that he signs today, and 4 days later he's like, "I guess I'll play." Well, who are we playing? You know, and then just like come out there, kind of a deal. So, Alan says, "Yes, Ronaldo has two supermarkets. I love the competition that the two supermarkets will have. Do they do pricing specials for like Ronaldo? They're like buy one get one free. So Ronaldo's like, oh, they got buy one get one over there. I'm gonna go there today. I don't know how that. Do they like bring up flyers for him? They're like, there's a sale. Almond milk is on sale. Okay, so let's go to this story here. By the way, that coffee is black you drink, right? There's
Yeah,
no.
always. Yeah,
Okay,
always. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm just making sure. Okay. You never know with you, man. Okay. So two things to discuss over here. I was initially going to talk about the whole Maguire news that was stripped of the captaincy. I go to Sky Sports website, and this article is there, and it says like he has been ruthless in managing change. Is it ruthless to manage change, or is it more like holy shit, this guy sucks as a captain too? Because obviously he had to deal with the Ronaldo thing, and I think he handled that as well as he could, knowing Ronaldo was Ronaldo. But at the same time, I feel like yes, it's a smart move and it is a gutsy move. You pretty much told Maguire, you got to go, bro. But at the same time, is it really ruthless? Because this could have been done probably 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, I think the whole ruthless thing comes down to the level of profile of the two players that he's made these difficult decisions over. It happened to be Ronaldo, a legend at the club, and then Harry Maguire, who's been a captain for the last whatever 7 years ish or whatever it was.
It hasn't been that long.
I don't know if it's been that long actually. I'm probably just pulling that out of my butt. But he's. I'm exaggerating it because it seems like it's been way too long, right? That's the
probably longer than it should. Let's go that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can't have your fourth or fifth choice center back be the captain of the club. So it's not ruthless because it just makes sense, you know. And I think while Maguire in his defense, everyone coming to attack me. In Maguire's defense, or lack thereof, he has shown up in big games and done a good job. It's just the fact that he's just so inconsistent, and when he's bad, he is really, really bad. And I think we tend to forget any of the good that comes with that and just always think about the bad. And so I don't want to say he's been a terrible captain over the last 17 years, but he has, if you're not even considered to be a starting center back or third choice or even fourth choice sometimes, it's hard to be that guy that relays that confidence to the rest of the guys on the pitch if they look at him and go, dude, you don't even get to fucking play. Why are you telling me what to do? Why are you trying to get me going if you can't get yourself going, kind of deal?
What if he's like, I'm getting myself going, I'm just not that good.
I'm just trying really hard, you guys.
I mean, I guess he could also be like, look, I'm trying hard. I'm not even playing. That's how I would say it if I'm not the guy. You know, you guys are fucking playing. You guys should be like working harder. I think it's just a matter of, I mean, the other headline, the initial headline I was going to go with was really this one. He's not short of options. That's another pun, I think. But, and then he's like kind of like upset about how he was shit. I mean, you would think he kind of knew. And I honestly still think if he goes to another team, I see him as like, I don't know, Nat Phillips. He just does not fit that system of how they're playing. I think if he goes back to, I think it was just a bad move to sign him, knowing his strengths and weaknesses to start with, and making him like the most expensive center back and stuff like that at the time. I think he goes back to, I don't know, like Burnley or somewhere like that. I think he will still be the guy that is like, God damn it, he's all over the place blocking this and putting his big head in every cross and stuff like that. And you would think, yeah, this guy is pretty solid. He's back to his old form. I think he just doesn't fit how a big team plays.
Yeah, so he should go back to Leicester, is what you're saying.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's like really going down now. Alan says oil tankers turn faster than Maguire. The funny thing is, people were saying that about Fab last year, and Ryan says, this is either late or just bad? But do you think if Fab is gone, we need two midfielders, or is one enough? That's a good question. So if Hendo is staying, Chris says if Maguire goes to West Ham, he'll the first choice, probably end up their captain. I think so, and I think he will do well. I mean, like I say, in a team like that, I think he will do well. And a lot of people will like, see, he's back to his old form. United couldn't use him or something like that. I just don't think he fits a big team profile as a center back. It's a different type of player to play center back at a team like that. That's going to be more have the upper hand throughout the game. I mean, you don't want anybody countering against Maguire, which we've done a lot of. I mean, we will miss him, that's for sure. So let's go back to this question real quick. If Fab is gone, Hendo is staying, do you just get one? Do you get two?
I'm still in the camp of one, no matter what. Whether Fab is gone and Hendo leaves, whether Fab is gone and Hendo stays, whether Hendo leaves and Fab stays, whether they both stay, whether they both go. I think the answer is still one.
Really? Okay.
At least. Yeah. I mean, if they both go, I think two would be ideal. But I think there needs to be at least one. Even if they both stay for some reason, I think we're still looking for one more. That's in my opinion.
I think for the most part, we can almost count Fab as gone. This all not being on camp thing, I think it's really hard to bring him back. And I agree. Actually, this is what I was going to say. Ryan says two, one pro, one project. And I feel you bring a guy like Lavia, you're only adding another 10. You're getting a guy that you clearly wanted, right?
But my problem with Lavia is I think he's right in the middle of that, pro or project.
I mean, depends on, I guess, when you say pro, so you want like Valverde or somebody?
That'd be fucking amazing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I mean, like, okay, I mean, who else would be a pro, I guess? I think somebody posted earlier about, I think Sir Z was the one who posted about the core from Chelsea that were.
Check Decore?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, I would be happy with Lavia. I just think that he's in that weird in-between where he's still there's still a little bit of a project to him. I don't think he's the finished piece.
That's
so
fair.
I think that's where I'm at with it. I don't mean that he wouldn't be able to start. I just think he's in that kind of grayish area between those two. So I think if you're going to go with a pro and a project, I think you really need an established professional and then the project. The problem is I don't know where to go to find that established professional, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know how many players that we would consider as established. Yes, he's the one kind of thing. Gal says both are gone. We need two, a starter and a young player. And I feel like, you tell your sporting director, who this is his thing, right? Who do you have that in Germany that's going to be this project? And you let them grab that project that he knows. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the opportunity to kind of like grab that and use his strength. And yeah, you do bring. I say Lavia just because I would feel more comfortable. Okay, if I said Lavia or Tchouameni, who would you pick? Or who would you consider more a pro? Because Lavia has played the Premier League.
I know. That's a good question. I think okay. Are the prices similar?
Prices are similar. Let's say 50 to 60 for both.
Okay.
You're pulling a Bickler before a trivia over here, asking 85 follow-up questions to buy time.
I need to be well informed when I make my decision. God damn it! My heart says Tchouameni, but my head says Lavia. If that makes sense. I think I romanticize.
Wait. Who said what? Go back again.
My heart says Tchouameni.
Okay.
My head says Lavia.
Why does your heart say that?
because I think I romanticized the idea of Tchouaméni coming in from last year and wanting
Oh, okay.
that. And I think he still would have been a fantastic addition. But I think overall, because of the Premier League experience, because of the familiarity, I think Lavia makes a lot of sense as well if it's for the same amount of money. But I personally think Tchouaméni is better long term, I guess is where I sit.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm not a scout, so don't listen to me.
I think the homegrown thing alone, because I'm pretty sure
Yes.
I read in multiple sources that Lavia counts as homegrown. So
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing, especially when you're losing Hendo. So that would be a big factor, I would guess. And I think it helps that cause. The Premier League experience, I think, kind of convinces me more going into a season where I guess I'm in the thing where, and I know we, he calls you the Polish scout.
The alliteration isn't there. I need to think
The
of something.
Dingus FC scout is in effect. What happened to Dingus FC, by the way?
I told you by the end of this. I told you by the end of summer there was going to be a grand reveal of everything. So don't you worry.
I mean, they should be in freaking camp right now, getting ready for the season. But anyway,
they don't need camp.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I think I'm more comfortable with a young Premier League experienced Lavia over Tchouaméni. But I know both of them would be just as a pro, if you will. I would be convinced with both as a pro. And I know what you're saying. You would be not as comfortable as Fab starting there when Lavia is starting there. But at the same time, man, we were going to go into the season. Now that we're selling him, I think if somebody was just giving 10 for him, it would be a totally different story. But somebody's giving 40 for him. I think some people are like, wait, are we selling something really good because we're getting 40 for it? Let's face it, we were all kind of going into this season with what's going to happen. Is that guy going to be back or is it going to be the same guy? I mean, when we talked, we said Fab, we said Van Dijk, and like Trent, like we had certain players and we said, are they going to be back to their form? And Fab was really, along with Van Dijk, I think pretty much top of that list.
Yeah.
So
2 questions for you. The first, in terms of the pro versus project situation, where do you see Bajcetic in that?
Project.
I
don't think we've seen enough. Yes, he's played well.
Yeah.
But let's face it, it was kind of within a shit show, right? I mean, when the standard is so low, if Bajcetic comes when the team is clicking, I mean, I guess maybe he would play better because the rest of the team is clicking. But at the same time, I don't think he would get as much notice. Fab was so bad. I think it kind of had Bajcetic look good.
Okay.
See, Nelson says we got all we need. Mac, Dominic, Szoboszlai, Jones, and Trent. See, I don't think he's counting Trent midfield. I don't think Trent is midfield, and I think that's the thing. Yao says he's a project, but abductor injury, and that's another thing. Like we don't know how he's gonna come back, which guy we're gonna get back. So this is probably a safer move. So before we head out over here,
I had a second question.
Oh, I'm sure
there were 2 questions.
No more questions. Okay, go
Rude. I'm gonna. How do you switch over the host screen? I need to get on the left side so I can ask the other question.
Here. Happy. There you go.
Oh boy. Okay. You had asked 2 weeks ago, whether it was 2 weeks ago or last week, and you asked the Monday crew as well, who their starting midfield would be on day one. Given the recent developments, who do you think, in your mind, who is the starting midfield right now? Then
we'll be back Wednesday morning.
Nice. I need to learn how to do that.
I'm afraid we're out of time.
I'm the host. I end the show when I want to.
That's short-lived. Let me take my seat back over here. As of now, we're assuming Fab is gone. Like with people in camp, I'll answer the question with people in camp. People in camp, I think, is Hendo, Mac, Szoboszlai. Yep, Ryan has it too. He said the rest is up to you. Yeah, I mean, if Hendo is there, still, Hendo is the 6. And maybe, here's another thing, maybe Fab leaving gives Hendo more minutes in another position he would be playing. Galley has Jones, which I can also see that goes back to the club familiarity concept. And I can see that because it's the Chelsea game. So that's a good shot. I can see that as well. I would not be shocked to see that. Cersei, I don't think that's happening, man. We'll see, I guess. But once we get to these preseasons, we'll get more of a glimpse. But I don't think Trent is in midfield. Because if Trent is in midfield, we're in shit because we haven't signed center backs. So I'm just judging that he will not be in midfield based on what we've done. But yeah, that's probably going with that. Way less running in the six. Well, yeah, I don't. It really depends on if there's running around you, it's less running. I felt like he was probably doing a lot more running than he should have, like Fab, and he couldn't. So that's why he looked, I think, worse than he could. That's when he's like, oh, he can't turn and stuff like that. So Allen is going with Hendo, Mac Jones as well. That's a good shot. I think maybe the whole Jones thing, I don't know how Jones is going to be handled knowing he's coming from that tournament and he has a bunch of games. Is that going to help him because he's in game shape? Or is there going to be like, you need a break, bro? And they're going to
Well,
give him a break.
he's also younger, so they might think, hey, you've got enough miles in your legs. You can keep going. You're only 20,
Yeah,
22,
and
23.
yada, yada, yada. That's why our midfield is there right now. So because we didn't give anybody any freaking time. Any other questions that you have for us?
No, I just had the two. Thank you.
Okay, let's go with this real quick. So Todd, actually, there's two in one right there. For those of you not familiar, this is our homepage of the website right here. Greg's first article came out, I think, yesterday. It was the opening of the box. That's like a really good one. That's Greg's first piece for us. And another debut over here is Todd Alex, who he's out of the Utah group actually. And his is about, I'll let you do the song. You're the singer. Changes, do it.
Changes.
Ugh, I thought I was gonna do it bad, so I didn't do it. But okay, this was just as worse, if not
changes.
So he talks about like the rules, and I thought the biggest thing that he mentioned, I really like this point in terms about like the clarity of the whole thing, and I think he's right where they're doing a lot of changes in the rules, and you expect more to be implemented this offseason, right? But the problem always seems to be nobody's clear on the new rule before it even goes out. It's one thing, and he mentions, like fans, we as fans should be the ones confused by intricate law changes. However, the new handball rule has pundits, players, and coaches on our level as well. And I think that's the problem. Like, nobody knows the rule. I think NFL had this for a while, right? Like, what is a catch? And it's still semi-gray. I think they made it less gray than it used to be. Is that what the sport needs, especially when it comes to handball?
Yeah, and going back to any VAR situation ever, the whole reason for it in the first place was to eliminate clear and obvious error, and we've gotten so particular and so try to use like a 20 times magnifying lens to see exactly what it is that's happening when that's not how real life works. You have to judge it from the live speed of the play. Yeah, you could have a slower replay if there's something more specific, but you can't zoom in 100 times to try and see something very minuscule because that's not clear and obvious at that point. That's complete opposite of clear and obvious because yeah. So I think the party here. Yeah, Gally, agree. That's drop the
Gally's
mic.
basically said what you said. Yeah. Yeah, I was lost halfway through myself, but I know what you mean. I think the key is this whole natural position, but then like, what is the natural position? Because they've called some things. Well, I mean, it goes back to the what is that? Everybody runs different, right? Like we talked about this before. But if it's like blocking, if it's not, but I really don't care what they go with. Just go with something and make sure everybody is on the same page and everybody understand what the rule is. Yeah. I think that is the biggest issue. Is what Todd is saying, that we're confused. We're just fans, but everybody's freaking confused, including players, and that's like the worst thing. And I think, I would hate to be a defender right now. I mean, you're better out just cutting off your arms and just do it that way because it seems to be the safest bets.
Just don't cut off Trent's arms because those things have gotten huge. I don't know if you've seen them.
He's a beast.
He's a man now. Have you not
I don't
seen
know what
pictures
I
of
don't
him?
know what you know, but yeah, I think honestly that was my thing. God damn it! I saw the first video of training and I was like, "Holy cow, Trent is big! Holy cow, look at Hendo, he's ripped!" And then maybe that's what somebody watching inside of it. Oh, but that's what Gerard said. Holy cow, Hendo is ripped. Hey man, looks like you can still play. You want to come over here? And I still will not forgive Stevie for that. Let's see what kind of a comedy happens over there because yeah, watching him. We had an article go out with that actually. I think it was like Friday. Some really good feedback online on that. People giving their takes on his move as a manager going to Saudi Arabia. I just feel like it just pushes everything back. The money is there. Yes, take it on run, I guess. But in terms of a career move, I don't think any manager goes there and comes back as he proved himself in the Saudi Arabian league. I think you still come back
Beat
here.
Ronaldo.
Yeah, well, man, ooh, there you go. Ronaldo, he'll beat the team with Conte and Benzema or something.
Yeah, with only Jordan Henderson in the squad.
With only Jordan Henderson injured by his side, he was able to take on. And, as Stevie, in some ways, maybe you have a team, you look around, you don't have any stars. You want a leader or, to come in there. And I understand why you would pick somebody like Henderson to be a leader for the team. But, yeah, I'm just disappointed in Henderson. Disappointed in Gerard, too, as well, but definitely disappointed in Henderson. Okay. Well, if you don't have any other questions to follow up, Ryan says the foot has to be offside. I think the offside thing, we should do the Dutch league thing. I don't know if we'll ever do it. Draw the thick line and let's roll with it. I know it gives an edge to the attacking player in many ways, but I think it kind of eliminates a lot of the doubt and the foot and the shoulder and the elbow and stuff like that. I kind of like the any part that can score kind of thing, but these lines, man.
I feel like if the goal was scored with your foot and you're drawing the line off the end of the shoulder, there is no point to that. The goal wasn't scored with the shoulder. It was scored with the foot. Like
but the shoulder was there right next to
what is the shoulder doing as an advantage of there's no advantage there if he's just running the line just a little bit too soon. The shoulder doesn't give you any added advantage. It's where your feet are.
I understand.
You can't move with your shoulders. You're not on the ground like this.
But here's the thing. It goes back to like making it clear cuts and an open rule. Like any part that can score can be off. Like I can roll with that. If that's the rule, I can roll with that. So the knee can be. The thigh can be. I don't know how your thigh would be ahead of your knee, but hey, you do you. But
fucking weird thighs, man.
Like, what if your ass was off? You can score with your ass. You're facing the wrong way, maybe. It's going to take you a time to turn around and go back.
Raheem Sterling would be pretty upset with that rule.
Create space, and it could then become part of the play moving forward. In today's rules, I get it. Just hate them. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think I only like it because it's a freaking rule, at least, that we can kind of like follow as opposed to just leaving it out there and say, whatever creates an advantage. I feel like it's a more dangerous verbiage than any part that can score a goal.
I think
you're not sold.
I think most importantly, if it's a clear and obvious offside, it should just be flagged right away. I think that's one thing that I think we can all agree on.
Yes.
Is that if the guy is 3 yards offside, just flag it.
Yeah.
Don't let that play go on. From there, we can have more discussions about the rules, but I think that's the first thing we should take care of.
Ryan says your arm can't score, but your shoulder can. See,
yeah, you can.
What I mean, we can go over here like.
See, what if you're running like this? Does that mean I'm offside because I'm?
Hey, whatever gains you an advantage, people will run with your head first or something. But I think I just want. I mean, I agree with Todd what he's saying. The big thing is clarity. And so that when we watch the whole thing with VAR should be to see what really happened. Maybe you missed something happening. We shouldn't look at so the moment you look at a VAR, you should be like, yep, that's what happened. That's it. But I feel now, even with VAR, that's why it takes forever sometimes. We're going back and forth. We're watching it. Is it his thing? Because is it subjective? Is he affecting the play and stuff like that? I just want it more clear cut. If I'm going to be subjected to VAR, I just want it a lot more simpler straight to the rule. We should not have a disagreement as much as we do after watching VAR. I guess that's where I'm
Yeah,
at.
no, there should be no disagreement.
Yeah.
If there is disagreement afterwards, it's not done correctly, because the whole point of it is to make sure that it's clear and there's nothing that someone can go back on and go, oh yeah, by the way, no, that's actually wrong. I think if you want it to be subjective, you need a party to look over these replays that aren't connected to the English game, maybe, like we've talked about before. Maybe having a set of referees from a different part of the world that head the VAR. And maybe that's part of the fix, is you get different kinds of eyes on them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It just becomes more of a, well, whatever you called over there is good, kind of an ordeal when it becomes subjective. Like, I'm not going to interfere. You saw it better. You're the ref, kind of a deal. And VAR kind of stays out of it when it becomes too subjective and stuff like that. And it's not clear. You're seeing it. It's on you. We're not going to be blamed for this afterwards. It's going to be you, kind of a deal. But yeah, let's see what we go into this season with. I felt, even going into the last season, I was like, what did we change? Because it's not clear what we changed. And nobody was clear on what we changed. And then we saw the effects the rest of the year. So maybe we'll bounce it off with the guys tonight as well. Obviously, a lot more Fabinho and Hendo talk, I'm sure, and replacements, what we're going to do. But most importantly, there will be trivia. So I'm sure Gally, who's listening right now, will be more than pleased. So start cramming. There will be a test tonight with trivia. So we'll be on at our regular time for the Monday Night Podcast, which is 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Got that down. You would think after doing it for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it was. But Ryan says, ask him about feet. Gally can go hours or hours. I'll just leave it at that. But
is Gally Quentin Tarantino? Interesting.
We call him Quint for short. Okay, we will see you guys tonight live. Thanks a lot to all those following, commenting. Give us a like and a share. Go ahead, check out the articles on the websites and give them a like and a share as well while you're at it. See you guys tonight. Have an awesome week, everybody.